Hi, this is Eric Olson, Director of HELPS. Sometimes people, when they learn about HELPS, they may get on our website, they may see a YouTube video, or someone tells them about HELPS, um, and they want to call us, and they wonder what's going to happen when they call. They wonder, am I going to need to tell the story to you guys, or what are they going to ask me? And they don't know what to expect. So I'm going to do this video to explain what happens when a new person calls HELPS. Okay. So you understand what way it works. Okay, so my name's Eric. I've been an attorney for 42 years. I'm the founder of HELPS, and HELPS has been around for about 12 years now, a little bit over 12, 10 years, 10, 12 years. Our main purpose is to protect seniors and disabled persons who receive protected income such as Social Security, pension, disability, or VA benefits, maybe even a little bit of wages, from debt collector harassment. There's a federal law called the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, provides when a person's represented by an attorney, collectors can no longer communicate with that person. And we educate seniors the fact that their income is protected, and disabled persons that can't be taken from them. And they may not need to pay debt that they owe. They can use the money for their basic needs, their food, their medicine, their housing, that kind of thing. And then our second purpose is to educate seniors, generally lower income seniors and disabled persons, how they can maintain their financial independence. Now, when I say lower income, it depends on what part of the country you live in. You can make a lot of money in California, have a lot of money, and you're still lower income. But maybe another part of the country, that income would make you wealthy. So the amount of income isn't necessarily the important part. It's the source of the income. Is it from Social Security, a pension, disability, or VA benefits? All of which is protected under federal and state laws. So you get on our website, or you look at our YouTube page, or maybe you look at our Facebook page, or maybe someone tells you to call, and you call our number, which is toll free, 855 HELPS US, or 855 435 7787. Get a call, and you're going to one of the receptions is going to answer the question, answer the phone. They're going to ask you if you're a client or a new client or a new person that's calling in. And so if you're a new person calling in, they're going to transfer the call to a staff person that helps, one of our paralegals. We call them intake persons. And it could be an attorney. It could be me sometimes. But all our staff is very well trained. Okay. Now, sometimes when I talk to people, they want to start out and tell their story, and I'll tell them, I need to ask a few questions at first. Okay. We have tens of thousands of clients, and we talk to a lot of people, and we have to be able to help people. We have to be able to orient the conversation to see if it's something that we can do to help. And so when you call, we're going to ask you we're going to say we need to ask some questions, and they're really kind of basic questions. And I'll just kind of go over some of these questions that we're going to ask. We're going to want to know your name, okay, and if you're married, and your phone number in case we lose you, so we can call you back. Now, we enter this information on the computer. We're a law firm, we're attorneys. Everything you tell us is absolutely, totally confidential. Okay, just be sure of that. And we're going to get your phone number. We're not going to ask your address, or anything like that. At least not yet, unless you decide you need our help, that you want us to help you. But we're going to ask you where you live. Okay. We probably aren't going to ask your email, at least at the beginning. Okay. We don't want to be obtrusive. We don't want to be. We want you to feel comfortable. And so we're going to ask you the state where you live. Now, the reason we need to know that is because laws vary from state to state. We have to provide you some information based on where you live. And then we're going to ask your age, and if you're married, we're going to ask your wife's age. That can be a very important information, how old you are. Okay. It's not because we're Snoopy. Okay. And then we'd like to know how you found us. Okay. Did you find us on YouTube? Did a friend tell you about us? Did you just find our website? Did you find an article about HELPS? And then after that, we're going to ask about the source of your income. Um, and we usually start out asking about the husband. You know, do you get Social Security? How much approximately? We don't need exact amounts. Do you get a pension? How much? Where's it from? Any other income? Then we're going to ask about your spouse's income. Now, if the debt is all yours and not your spouse and she's not involved, we may not need her information. But you know, it just depends. We're not being snoopy. We just need this for background information. Because it can be important on what your rights are and what can be done. Then we're going to ask about where you live, your housing situation. Are you renting? Are you buying a home? If you're renting, approximately how much you're paying in rent. If you're buying a home, approximately how much you owe on the home, what you think the home might be worth, and how much are your monthly payments. And sometimes we might ask your address then, because we might look on the internet. You can get on the internet, type in an address, and find out a person's home fairly accurately. There'll be 3 or 4 websites that list the address with the value of the home. That's important for us to know. So we're going to ask you about that. If you're current on the house payment, it's also important for us to know how much your house payment is in relation to your income. Ask if you're buying a car, own a car, if there's car payments, how much you owe, that kind of thing. Then, you know, if you have an RV, we're going to ask about that, and that will give us a lot of basic information. Next, we're going to ask if you've been sued. Is there a lawsuit? If you've been sued with legal papers, or if you were sued before, is there a judgment? Okay, we need to know that to be able to tell you what your options are. And then we're going to ask if you owe any income taxes to the IRS or to the state. And why do we need that? Because we'll talk with people that owe income to the taxes to the IRS, and their income is such that they don't need to pay that tax. They're in currently not collectible status. And we want to know if you owe taxes to the state, because state tax collector can't take your pension or your Social Security. That income's protected. So we want to know if you owe taxes. And then we're going to want to know if you owe a student loan, because we can help with that. And then finally, we're going to want a general idea of what you owe in unsecured debt. Now, what's unsecured debt? That's like credit cards, medical bills, collection agencies, bank loans, you know, things like that. Other debt other than a secured debt. A secured debt is like if you have a car you're making payments on, or a house. And we don't need an exact number, just an approximate number. Sometimes people really think they have to give us the last penny. No, you don't. We just need, if we find out you only owe $1,000, you know, that's different than if you owe 10, 20, or 30, or $40,000. And it really doesn't matter how much you owe. We just need that for a general idea to see what kind of problem there is. But we're going to be able to help with that problem. I can assure you on that. And then we're going to want to know where you bank. If not the bank where you bank at, we want to know if you're going to bank, if you bank at a bank or credit union, because there can be a difference. And if you owe money to that bank or credit union, because if you owe a lot of money to that bank or credit union, especially on an unsecured debt, we need to know that to tell you. We have to tell you you might need to change a bank or credit union account. Maybe not, but we just need to know that information. Okay. We have to have this basic information before we can answer your question. A lot of people call in, they just want to ask a question, get it answered. The problem is it's hard for us to give an accurate answer to most questions unless we have this basic information from you. The other reason is some people might call in and they want a basic question answered, but they have no idea what HELPS does and what their financial rights are. So that's why we ask these questions. And I don't think they're too intrusive into your life. I think, you know, once again, it's all confidential. We save the information. We have a secure computer system. A person is classified a potential client when they call us, and so that way, if you call back later and you give us your name, we can draw off that information that you've given us, so we don't have to ask the same questions over again. We got a pretty sophisticated computer system that we can do that. Okay, so now after we do that, ask that question, then we're going to thank you for talking to us, and then we're going to read you something. And it's not that long, just takes a couple minutes, and it's going to explain how your Social Security and your other retirement income is protected by federal and state laws. And then we're going to tell you about another state law, another federal law called the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act that provides that if collectors are notified that you're represented by an attorney, collectors have to leave you alone, okay? And that when people enroll in HELPS, we send out that letter to the people, to the creditors that you give us to, or the debt collectors you give us to, and that tells them that they can no longer call you or send you demand letters in, or send you demand letters in anymore. And the reason we do that, the reason we send those letters, it lets them know that you live off a protected income, that it's kind of a waste of time for them to sue you. Okay, so because of that, we think that HELPS clients get sued far less than other people, because the creditor will get a letter from us, saying that your income's protected. So they realize now this person has financial rights. If we sue them, it's going to be a waste of our money. But once in a while, our clients get sued. Doesn't matter because your income's protected. The other reason we let them know that is because we want them to know that you're not going to be paying the debt going forward, and that that money is going to be yours to use for your needs. So HELPS isn't debt management or debt consolidation. You're done paying the debt when you give a creditor to HELPS, okay, a debt collector. You don't need to pay it anymore. And then finally, we tell them we're your attorney of record for receiving communication, and that they're not to call you anymore or send you demand letters. And then we tell you that, if you do get a call, you refer someone, you say, I'm represented by HELPS Law Group, please call them, and you hang up the phone. And if it's a new collector, you need to give it to us so we can send out a cease and desist letter to that collector. So that's how it goes so far. Now, if you've been sued, we're going to tell you what your rights are. We're going to tell you we need a copy of the lawsuit, or just the first 3 or 4 pages. We don't necessarily need everything. And explain how we're going to contact the attorney, explain to them that your income's protected, and we're going to explain to you why you don't need to worry, why you're not going to need to go to court, and why your assets aren't at risk. Okay? Now, another thing we're going to ask you is if you have a credit card with a smaller balance that you still want to keep, and some people do, and we're going to say, well, as long as that credit card isn't backed by a bank with whom you have another debt you're not going to pay, you can keep that credit card. Okay? And some people are happy to hear that, because they may have a credit card they owe $500 or $1,000 on, and they want to keep that. And you can. HELPS is different than bankruptcy. In bankruptcy, all credit cards are shut off whether you owe them anything or not. Okay? And then we're going to sum everything up. We'll say, might explain, okay, all your Social Security is protected. This pension is protected. We might explain to you that even if you get sued, twice the amount of your federal benefits, like your Social Security deposit in your bank account, is automatically protected from garnishment, regardless of what funds are in there. We'll tell you that. So if you get $1,500 in Social Security, $3,000 in that bank account is protected automatically. Even if you have money in there from another source, it's protected by the bank under a federal banking regulation in effect since 2012. So we'll explain that to you and kind of sum everything up. And we'll then ask if you have any questions. Of course, you can ask questions why we're doing this, but we're going to ask, do you have any more questions? And and then from there, we'll go on and we'll talk about the fees for HELPS. Now, first off, we don't turn anyone away that wants our help. Maybe 1 out of 4 of our clients get our help for free, and those that pay a very minimal amount. It could be, $20 for 12 months, then $10 a month, and after another 36 months, $5 a month. Or it might be $30 for 12 months, and then $10 a month for 36 months, and then $5 a month. Or the most a person would pay would be $40 for 12 months, and then $20 a month for 36 months, and after that, $5 a month. So And it's based on your income, your household income, and other factors. And we want it to work for people. So we don't get complaints about helps costing a lot of money. If you really checked helps out and you want to enroll, we can enroll you right then. And we don't pressure anyone. Never do that. Okay. If you want to check us out more, which is perfectly fine, then we'll click a button and this information is saved, and we'll say, call us back when you want more information, and we can enroll you later. Sometimes clients call us 3 or 4 or 5 times before they decide to enroll in helps. I don't care. We want you to feel comfortable about what we do. But when you decide to enroll, then we're going to get a little bit more information. We're going to explain the fee. Normally, the fee works like this. Most people pay us by debit card, okay? I'm going to ask you, when do you get your Social Security each month? And so they might say, I get it on the second Wednesday of the month, okay? So what we'll normally do is we don't need the payment would be done within 30 to 60 days. So when we enroll people, they don't have to pay us any money up front, nothing. We enroll people over the phone. So when you enroll, and let's say this is I'll say it's the 3rd of February, okay? So the next check you're going to get is, if it's the second Wednesday, is going to be, sometime in the middle of February. Well, that's less than 30 days. So your fee would be, your fee wouldn't be due till March. And the second Wednesday will never be beyond the 14th, right? 7 and 7 is 14. So we'll say your payment will not begin till March 14th or March 15th, or a day that's best for you, okay? And then we'll ask for your debit card number, expiration date. We don't need the code on it, the back, we don't need that. And then we're going to ask we're going to want to know the last 4 digits of your Social Security number, because sometimes we have to verify that with a creditor if they call in and want to make sure that. And we're going to ask for the month of birth. Now, why do we need your month of birth? Because we send birthday cards to our clients. We represent a lot of elderly people, and we just think it's nice to do that. One of the things we always tell our clients: if you ever have a question or concern or worry, you always call us, no matter how often. Okay? So when you enroll in helps, you're our client ongoing. So if you're worried or scared, you can always call us. And we want you to do that. If you think you're being scammed or a potential scam, we want to know about that so we can tell you about that. And that's why we have all the videos that we have on YouTube and otherwise. So we're going to ask you if you served in the military and what years, because there's some benefits that might be available to you that you don't know of. And if you're a widow of a spouse that was in the military, we're going to want to know that, because there's some benefits for veterans and spouses of veterans who served during certain times in the military that are really significant, and a very small percentage of seniors entitled to these benefits are aware of them. And even if you only serve for 3 or 4 months, you can be entitled to that benefit. So we ask you, did you serve in the military? What years? Or did your spouse serve in the military? I'm going to ask you about that. And then that's about it. And then when you're ready to enroll and we have all this information, we're going to keep you on the phone, and I'm going to click a button. We're going to click a button that enrolls you, and you're enrolled immediately in helps. And then we want to keep you on the phone. And if you get emails while you're on the phone, we're going to wait till you get that email. And usually it gets there within a matter of a minute. It doesn't take very long, usually. And then you're going to say, oh, I got this email. It says, welcome to helps. And it's a fairly long email. It has all our contact, our phone number, gives you instructions how to get us the collectors that you don't want to hear from anymore, and other valuable information, how to reach us. It's fairly long, pretty detailed, and we tell you to save that and to read it, okay? And then we're going to tickle the file, probably usually for 14 days to follow up with you, make sure that we've gotten everything that we need from you. Of course, you can call us before then, whenever you want, because once you're enrolled in Helps, you're our client. If you have a question, you can call. We don't want you to sit home worried, thinking, I don't want to bother them. No, you call us if you have a question. So that's the process to enroll in Helps. We want you to feel comfortable with us and what we do, okay? As far as I know, we're the only law firm in the nation that does what we do. We're growing. A lot of our clients are very thankful to find us and to receive this help. And one of the things we'll ask you or tell you when we enroll you, we're going to say, please share what Helps does with others. So I hope this is a good summary of what we do to enroll people. Our staff is qualified. If we run into a question that might have a difficult answer, you're going to get an attorney from Helps is going to get involved. But we want you to be happy. Now, something you should know that, we provide we don't give legal advice, we give legal information. Well, the legal information we have it's really clear. We have probably maybe preloaded emails, okay, on different topics, all kinds of topics, important financial topics regarding what happens when a client is sued, what's a default judgment, maybe about timeshare, about reverse mortgages, about transportation. I can't afford a car. All kinds of topics, okay, that we can send to our clients. And most of those emails have links to videos that we have or articles on that topic to give you legal information. So we've got a wealth of information. You could probably spend hours on our website, and you could probably spend hours on our YouTube page, okay? And so that's it. And hopefully this has been helpful. And you feel free to call 855-435-7787. We want to help you, okay? You don't need to worry. I'm sure you're going to be okay. If someone we can't help something and we think there's some other avenue for them, we're going to tell them about it, okay? Like I said, I've been an attorney for 42 years, and the other attorneys in our office have been attorneys for decades and have lots of experience with this kind of law, okay? So you have a great day.